Every year, hundreds of games get announced, but only a few actually matter. These are the titles dominating wishlists, breaking trailers, and making gamers worldwide impatient for release. Gothic 1 Remake brings back a classic RPG, but not in a simple nostalgic way. This is a full rebuild of the original 2001 game, placing you inside a brutal prison colony where survival is everything, and power decides who lives and who doesn't. You play as the nameless hero, thrown into a world where there are no rules except the ones created by the prisoners themselves. The gameplay focuses on open-world freedom and player choice. You are not forced into one path. You can join different factions, build relationships, or make enemies depending on your decisions. The world reacts to what you do, with NPCs following daily routines, dynamic quests, and systems that change based on your actions. That makes every playthrough feel a bit different instead of just following a fixed story. Gothic 1 Remake feels less like a simple upgrade and more like a second chance for a classic game to reach a new generation, while still keeping that raw and unforgiving identity intact.
See nothing. Come on, let's head back. This is too dangerous.
And go back to that piss hole of a camp. No way, man. Not until we find that stuff.
Corner! Oh, no, no, no! Help!
Silent Hill is back again with a brand new entry titled Silent Hill Townfall. And this time it takes the series in a direction that feels more focused and personal. You play as Simon Ordell, a man who keeps waking up in the same place with no clear memory of why he is there, slowly trying to piece together what is actually happening. The gameplay shifts into a full first-person perspective, which is a big change for the series. You explore, solve puzzles, and move carefully through the environment while dealing with threats that are always nearby. Combat exists, but it is limited, so you often rely on stealth, hiding, and avoiding danger instead of facing everything directly. There is also a unique device called a CRTV, which helps detect enemies and adds a new way to read what is around you. Silent Hill Townfall is not just another continuation. It feels like a new chapter that keeps the core of the series, but tells it in a more grounded and intimate way, where the focus stays on one character and the weight of what they are trying to understand.
I keep trying to fix what happened. But no matter what I do,
you can't fix it. It doesn't let us change things. You did what you did.
Know that I just made the right decision.
it's me, boss. Wait, how long?
Since the last time the sun died, mate.
You left us here. We've lost people. There's no way to get home, and you...
Lies! This is what it does. It gets in our heads, and it twists, and it turns.
I won't break our promise. I will make everything perfect again.
Saros is a game that blends action-adventure, cinematic storytelling, and bullet hell combat into one experience, and that mix already makes it stand out. It comes from the same studio behind Returnal, so you can already expect fast movement, heavy action, and a strong focus on gameplay that keeps you constantly engaged. The gameplay follows a third-person shooter style with roguelike elements, where every run feels different. Each time your character dies, the world resets and changes, forcing you to adapt instead of memorizing everything. But unlike traditional roguelikes, Saros gives you permanent upgrades. You can improve your weapons and armor over time, so even after failure, you come back stronger and more prepared for the next run. Saros does not try to make every run perfect. It is built around repeating, learning, and coming back stronger, which gives the whole experience a steady sense of progression without feeling stuck in one loop.
I didn't know you well. But we'll keep your memory alive. Every sacrifice we make matters. And we'll never.
State of Decay 3 continues the series, but the situation now feels much more serious and unforgiving. The world is set years after the outbreak, where survivors are no longer new to this disaster. They are experienced, but also worn down by everything they've been through. It is not about discovering the apocalypse anymore. It is about living in it and trying to hold things together while everything keeps falling apart. The gameplay still centers around open-world survival and community management, but on a larger scale. You explore dangerous areas, search for resources, and build a base while managing a group of survivors. Every person in your community matters, because each one has skills, strengths, and weaknesses. And if someone dies, they are gone permanently, which makes every decision feel more important. State of Decay 3 is not built around one main hero or a single story path. It is about the people you manage, the choices you make, and how long your group can last in a world that never really gives you a break.
Celestials are the enemy of humanity. A relentless threat to our very survival.
I can't do this anymore. Salvaging scraps just to get by.
Child of Orion, fulfill the purpose for which you were crafted, and seize your destiny.
Exodus is a new game that brings in actor Matthew McConaughey as the voice of one of its main characters. And if you've seen Interstellar, you already know the kind of presence he brings. This is actually his first major role in a video game, and the developers confirmed that all of his voice work is fully recorded for the game, not AI generated, which adds a more real and cinematic feel to the experience. Gameplay combines third-person combat, exploration, and story-driven decisions, where your choices affect relationships, missions, and how the story unfolds. One of the most interesting mechanics is time dilation, where time moves differently depending on how you travel through space. What feels like a short mission for you could mean years have passed for others, which changes how characters grow and react to you over time. Exodus is not just about space exploration, it is about choices, time, and how far you are willing to go when every decision comes with a cost.
That was a fatal mistake.
It's the aura of the Grail pieces. I can sense it. As long as it is reforged.
My wish can be fulfilled.
But wishes come at a price.
To pursue one's wishes is to court one's doom.
Tides of Annihilation drops you into a version of London that no longer feels like a normal city. After a mysterious invasion from another world, everything is broken, twisted, and mixed with something ancient. Streets, buildings, and even reality itself start blending with elements from Arthurian legend, creating a setting that feels both modern and mythological at the same time. The gameplay focuses on fast-paced action combat, but with a unique twist. Gwendolyn can summon spectral knights inspired by the Knights of the Round Table, each with different abilities. You can switch between them during fights, combine attacks, and build your own combat style depending on how you set them up. That system makes battles feel more dynamic instead of just repeating the same moves. Tides of Annihilation is not just about fighting through enemies. It is about stepping into a world that feels broken in a very strange way, where modern ruins and ancient legends collide, and nothing fully makes sense anymore. As a standalone sequel to the Mortal Shell series, this game introduces some major changes that immediately make it feel bigger and more ambitious than the original. Mortal Shell 2 is not just continuing the same formula, it expands it with a wider world, more systems, and a much stronger focus on combat variety and exploration. The core mechanic is still there, where you possess the bodies of fallen warriors called shells, each one giving you different abilities and playstyles. But now, that system feels deeper. There are more shells, more customization, and more ways to build your own approach to combat. You are not locked into one style. You can switch and adapt depending on the situation, which makes every fight feel more flexible. Mortal Shell 2 is not just a continuation. It feels like a version of the original idea that has been fully expanded, giving players more control, more options, and a much larger world to survive in. Valor Mortis is set in a world that feels familiar at first, but quickly transforms into something much darker. The game is set in an alternate 19th century Europe during the Napoleonic Wars, where a mysterious plague has transformed soldiers and battlefields into something unnatural. The gameplay is built as a first-person Souls-like, which already makes it stand out compared to most games in this genre. Combat is close, heavy, and very timing-based. You use a mix of melee weapons like a cutlass, a flintlock pistol for ranged attacks, and supernatural abilities called transmutations. You can block, dodge, or parry depending on the situation, and each choice matters because fights are meant to be punishing if you make mistakes. Valor Mortis does not try to make things easy. It builds its experience around pressure, timing, and learning from failure, where every fight feels like it matters, and every step forward has a cost.
I'm glad you're here. Spirit guides once used alchemy to cleanse corruption. Maybe you can do the same.
As a continuation of the previous series, Kina Scars of Kosmora takes the story further with a version of Kina who is no longer new to her role. She is now an experienced spirit guide, but this journey feels more personal. She travels to the mysterious island of Kosmora, searching for a cure to a condition she has carried for years. And what she finds there is something much more dangerous than expected. Combat is also expanded. You still use Kina's staff, but now there are new elemental skills and stronger enemy encounters, including larger boss fights. At one point, her staff is even damaged, forcing her to rely on a different form of spirit guiding that uses elemental energy, which changes how you approach battles and progression. Kina Scars of Kosmora feels like a continuation that grows with its character, where the journey is not just about helping spirits anymore, but also about facing something much closer to home. Ontos comes from Frictional Games, the team behind Amnesia and Soma, and you can already see a similar direction in how it handles storytelling. This is not built around constant danger or loud moments. The focus is more on questions, uncertainty, and slowly understanding what is happening around you. Most of the gameplay revolves around exploring, interacting with systems, and making decisions. You gather materials, activate mechanisms, and deal with situations that often have multiple outcomes. Instead of guiding you directly, the game lets you figure things out on your own, which makes every discovery feel more meaningful. Ontos leans into that slow, thoughtful experience, where the tension builds over time, and the real impact comes from what the game makes you think about, not just what it shows you.
What is existence, really? Surely a question without an answer. Your father thought he knew, and it inspired him to grant wishes.
Who's there? Nightmare. Yes!
That's why all of us are here. You want to understand, to know. Then you have to step beyond the walls surround you. Play your father's game. Push the very limits. Until you're reality itself.
You to be a long way from home. Grab a weapon. Do your part.
Too many people die because of inaction. I won't be part of the problem.
Asterfel opens on an island that looks calm from a distance, but the closer you get, the more you notice something is not right. You arrive as a shipwreck survivor with no clear role, no status, and no one telling you what to do. From that point, everything depends on the choices you make and who you decide to trust. The island is controlled by 3 different factions, each with its own goals and way of dealing with the growing threat. You can align with them, ignore them, or play between both sides. That freedom shapes how the story moves forward, since your decisions directly affect how the world reacts to you. Combat gives you room to experiment. You can switch between melee weapons, ranged attacks, and rune-based magic, depending on how you want to handle each encounter. Some fights reward patience, others push you to act fast, so you are always adjusting instead of repeating the same approach. Asterfel focuses on letting you move at your own pace, where every direction feels like a risk, and every decision slowly shapes the path you end up taking. Koshmar: The Last Reverie starts with a world where something as simple as sleep becomes the biggest threat. A strange plague spreads through the city, and once people fall asleep, they may never wake up again. In the middle of this, you follow Violet, a girl who can move between reality and the dream world, stepping into other people's nightmares to stop whatever is causing the infection. The gameplay mixes fast-paced action combat with exploration and roguelite elements. You fight through something called nightmare rifts, where each encounter can feel different because some areas are procedurally generated. That means you cannot rely on the same approach every time. You adapt, learn patterns, and keep pushing forward while unlocking new abilities and upgrades along the way. Koshmar: The Last Reverie builds its experience around that constant balance between control and losing yourself, where every step forward brings you closer to the truth, but also further into something you may not fully come back from.
beyond your dreams and fears. It was always there, buried in your shadow. When nightmares reign and the world chokes in its sleep, this power corrupts, consumes, contorts. Embrace it, wield it, or fight it.
Control Resonant moves the series in a new direction with a different main character and a clear shift in gameplay. This time, the story centers on Dylan Faden, the younger brother of Jesse. He is not new to this world, and that makes his journey feel more intense from the start, since he already understands how dangerous everything is. The combat system also feels different. The focus is no longer on pure third-person shooters. Instead, the system leans more towards RPGs with stronger melee combat. Dylan uses a weapon called the Aberrant, which can change form depending on your fighting style. This gives you more freedom to customize your fighting style rather than being stuck with a single approach. Control Resonant changes how the series feels without losing its core idea, giving you a world that is wider, more unstable, and harder to control.
Reshaping reality as we know it. Everything we tried to keep inside eventually worms its way out. You must have had good reasons. But we were not prepared.
Alkahest builds its experience around a grounded medieval world where you are not a chosen hero, but just the youngest son of a minor lord trying to prove yourself. The story begins with something small, investigating strange goblin raids, but it slowly pulls you into a larger conflict between powerful factions fighting for control of the kingdom. One of the biggest differences is how the game handles progression. There is no traditional magic system. Everything is built around alchemy, where you mix ingredients to create potions, weapon effects, or tools that can change how situations play out. Some results are predictable, but others can surprise you, which makes experimentation part of the experience. Alkahest leans into a style where combat, choices, and world interaction all connect together. It is less about becoming powerful quickly, and more about learning how to survive, adapt, and make the most of what you have in a world that does not make things easy. Lords of the Fallen 2 pushes the series further into a darker and more demanding direction, building on everything from the previous game, but making it more intense from the start. The world is still rooted in dark fantasy, but now it feels more broken, with entire regions collapsing under the weight of something far worse than before. The scale is bigger, and the danger feels constant, not just in combat, but in the world itself. The gameplay stays close to a Souls-like action RPG, but with faster and more aggressive combat. You are not just waiting for openings, you are moving, reacting, and constantly adjusting during fights. You can use melee weapons, magic, and ranged attacks, giving you more freedom to shape your own playstyle instead of sticking to one approach. Lords of the Fallen 2 leans into challenge and pressure, where every fight demands attention, and every step forward feels earned rather than given.
Forsaken us, for fear of the coming darkness, consumes all but you, Lamp-bearer. Something stirs within you, something ancient, powerful, hungry. So I ask you, will you harness this darkness within and deliver unto our so-called lords retribution?
Bloodmoored builds its gameplay around fast-paced combat and constant pressure, where you are thrown into waves of enemies under a dark, blood-red sky. The idea is simple, but the way it plays keeps things intense. You fight through hordes, survive as long as you can, and keep upgrading your build while everything around you becomes more aggressive. There is also a strong risk and reward system tied to light and darkness. You recover health and energy only in safe zones, but the real rewards are usually found in more dangerous areas. That forces you to take risks if you want to grow stronger, instead of just playing it safe the whole time. Bloodmoored is less about story and more about momentum. The longer you survive, the harder it gets, and the more you need to stay focused. It is built around learning, reacting, and pushing forward, while everything keeps getting faster and more chaotic.
Hey, my girl. Can't sleep? Let me tell you a one-word bedtime story. Death.
Footsteps echo soft and low, where they lead.
Swordplay is a game of strength. Winning is what matters. And you can bring as many friends as you want. Not good.
Series Legend is back with the title Onimusha Way of the Sword. And this time, it feels like a true revival rather than just a remake or remaster. After almost 2 decades, the franchise returns with a new story, new visuals, and a more modern approach, while still keeping its samurai roots. Combat is built around precise swordplay, where timing matters more than speed. You use your katana to attack, parry, and deflect incoming strikes, making each fight feel like a duel instead of just spamming attacks. There is also the Oni Gauntlet, which lets you absorb energy from enemies and turn it into power, adding another layer to how you fight. Onimusha brings back that classic samurai feeling, but with smoother combat, a darker world, and a stronger focus on how every strike actually matters.
Who inexplicably fall victim to his charm.
Look, I know where this is going. Do you mind telling me why I'm here?
I would like you to join His Majesty's Secret Service.
You what?
I know all about your exploits in Iceland.
I strongly believe that there is a need for such heart and intuition in modern spycraft. That's the very reason I'm bringing back the Double O's.
Need I state the obvious? He is not ready.
Jibs, the service is over.
You're a rare breed, Bond. I should be interested to see what you do next.
009 will employ every manner of subterfuge to avoid capture.
007 First Light already had its ending leaked to the public because of a mistake from a game rating board, but honestly, it is still worth waiting for. Before we go further, if you really want to experience the story fresh, it is better to stay away from social media for now, because spoilers are already spreading everywhere. From what happened, a security issue from the Indonesian game rating system, IGRS, accidentally exposed more than an hour of gameplay footage, including scenes that appear to show the ending of the game. This was never meant to be public, since developers usually submit private footage only for rating purposes. Even with that situation, the game itself still looks very interesting. 007 First Light is designed as an origin story for James Bond, showing how he earns his 00 status. Instead of playing an already legendary agent, you experience a younger version of Bond who is still learning, making mistakes, and growing into that role.